We're stepping it up a little bit in terms of difficulty with these prepping challenges. We're going into intermediate territory now. So you'll recognize this input data set by now with the beginner month that we've just had. But our aim here now is to return the top 10 liquid sales for each store. Oh, that's a bit of a mouthful. So number of steps required in order to do that. So first of all, we need to split up our product name into its product type and the sizes. So if you remember, we did this right in, I think, in the first challenge of this series. So if you go to our split values, then you can choose the automatic split, or you can choose custom split and use a dash as the separator and split off all the fields, and that'll get you your 2 new fields that you just need to rename to product type and size. Okay, then we are only interested in the liquid soap sales for this challenge. So you don't have to do it in an additional step, but I like to split things up so it's easier to find my changes that I've made. So I just chose to click on the liquid value here and say keep only, but you could also do it in a filter here as well. So write the calculation, or even if you go to the filter option here, select the values that you want, so on and so forth. Okay, now we need to aggregate this to our store, size, and scent level. So aggregate our sales to that level. So we want to group by our store, our size, and our scent name, and sum up those sales values. Okay, after that, we're going to do a rank. So I always like to add my rank by going to my numeric field, so my sale value, going to the menu here, going to create calculator field and rank, and that will open up for me this calculation editor for my ranking, as you can see. So by default, it'll usually do in descending order, but if you wanted to change that for any reason, then you could just click on this icon here, and that would make it go in ascending order rather than descending order. Okay. And then we're grouping it by our store name so that it's for each store we can find out the ranking of those size and cents. Now what we'll do is we'll filter this to just be the top 10. So because we've done it for each store, our ranking, so if you don't believe me, then we've got 70 rows here for Chelsea, 70 rows for Dulwich, 70 rows for Lewisham, so on and so forth. So for each of these, as you see, it starts again at the number 1. I hope you noticed as I was clicking through, sorry. Didn't make that super clear. So we now want, rather than seeing all 70 of those products, we want to have that being just the top 10. So to do that, I like to use the filter here where I do a range of values, and you can see that you can do a range. I like to do the maximum, so it's only include values less than or equal to 10, as you can see. So I just added that on even though I've already applied that filter, so I'll just get rid of that additional change there. And now we have our top 10. So each of our store names has 10 rows associated with it. We have this additional requirement to round our sale value to the nearest 10. So we can do this using a calculated field. So I wonder if you've seen this before, where you round your sale value to -1. That will round it to the nearest 10. So if you select 0 there, it rounds it to the nearest whole number. If you select 1, it rounds to 1 decimal place. But doing a -1 kind of moves it up the tens, hundreds, thousands row there. So nice and simple, but I guess only if you know that it's there. So hopefully that didn't trip too many people up. Okay, so we've rounded that. And now, of course, for our output, we only want to have one store at a time. We want users to be able to choose what that store is, so we introduce a parameter. So let's show the parameter. So when you create the parameter, if I just edit that, it comes up with this menu here. So you name your parameter. I've called it select a store, so that when the user is prompted with the pop-up box, it just says select a store, so they know exactly what they're looking to do. So it's a shame at the moment that you can't add it from a particular field in Prep. I'm sure that functionality will come just like it is in desktop. So I did have to manually type in all of these values in a list. So that's just all of those store names. Okay, and we're saying require the selection at runtime so that they have to pick a parameter. Okay, and then to make that apply, then we've just got a parameter here in our filter. So when we go to filter values, we've just got it here and it says store name equals selector store. And that filters it to just be Notting Hill, as you can see here. And we just have the top 10 products then for Notting Hill. So in my output as well, I've made sure that my top 10 liquid products and then I've got my selector store. So I just added that in by clicking there to get selector store come through. So now you can see what it's going to name it. It will name it as top 10 liquid products at Notting Hill.csv. When I run that, that will just appear. Well, first of all, it'll ask me, of course, what store I want to save it to. Let's do Chelsea. Run that flow and say OK. And then in my file browser, I can see that I've now got that top 10 liquid products at Chelsea, and I can even prove it to you further by opening up that file, and I have just those top 10 products there. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that slightly more challenging challenge, so the intermediate level challenge, and thanks very much for watching.